Hey, what's up, guys? I was just at a coffee shop for the last couple hours getting some work done on a phone call with one of my buddies, talking about life, catching up. I'm actually going to be seeing him in a couple weeks, heading back to Milwaukee. So that'll be really fun because that dude, I've talked about him in previous videos. He saved my life, man. Like, just his wisdom, his life experience. He's like a big brother, a mentor to me. So he's done a lot for me, and I know I'm gonna be getting him on my channel one of these days so you guys can hear his story. But we were just having a conversation, and I was just thinking about what kind of video do I want to make. I mean, I could talk about taking calculated risks and how to do so, but then I'm like, you know what, I just had the feeling to talk about breakup and how to overcome that, because that was, in the recent years, it was the most painful thing that I've gone through. Like, it didn't equate to having to work a job again, spending 5 years being job free, then going back working a job at Amazon Flex delivering packages. It didn't equate to that. It didn't equate to having to move back in with my parents, sleeping on their living room couch. It didn't equate to that. Nor did it equate to being in $20,000 credit card debt. The feeling of going through your first breakup, especially, it it can break someone. It really can. It can break a man, and I've seen it with my own eyes. Close people who are very close to me. I've watched it literally tear their life apart, going through a heartbreak. So I really think this is a good video to talk about, man. And it's very recent to me, just in the last couple of years. We'll go back to the beginning. I haven't really talked about, I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the channel or really in my story. Matter of fact, I talk about how I've spent some time in California, Florida, Minnesota, Arizona. I'm down here. Like, I've lived in different places and experienced different lifestyles, which I've also lived at my grandparents' place for on and off about a year. And that was an experience for sure. I mean, most of the time when I was there, my grandparents weren't there. They have a second home down here in Arizona, but they live up in the sticks, man. Northern Wisconsin, couple hours outside of Milwaukee. They got about 10 acres of land and nice and quiet, peaceful up there. Not much going on. I spent on and off for about a year up there, and most of the time I was by myself. So being by yourself, this is gonna tie into how I met this girl, and how, going through the heartbreak and all that. But being up there, it was really quiet, man. So quiet to the point where it's kind of scary. I'm sure some of you understand what I'm talking about. Those of you that aren't from the city or the suburb, you're from the sticks, you're from the woods, the country, and you know what it's like being completely by yourself, where you can literally hear every nick and cranny that goes on in the house when you're trying to sleep at night. So it can kind of get to someone, especially if you grew up watching scary movies. I stopped watching scary movies years ago, mainly because of my faith and whatnot. It doesn't equate to where it is that I'm trying to take my faith and the things that I want to do with my life. It just didn't make sense. Occasionally I'll throw on a good classic horror film, but it's very rare. So me being up there, I mean, there were nights where I literally couldn't sleep. I would have to sleep with some sort of music going on in the background, just because I was kind of scared, man. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of scared being up there by myself. And over time, it got to a point where I became more comfortable with being by myself. And I think the reason why I was scared, especially in the beginning, is because I didn't know myself. I was scared of myself. And I believe a lot of people are like that. So it makes it tricky trying to go into relationships if you don't even know who you are, man, and what you want and what you like and what you don't like. If you can't even understand yourself and be at ease with yourself, don't expect to have don't expect to be in a great relationship with another female if you're not right. You got to get yourself right first, I believe. Get yourself right first, and then you'll just naturally attract women into your life that are also right, that have gotten their life in order. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but they may be on, you or them may be on track to getting your or their life in order. So you got to be at ease with yourself, and you have to understand who you are. For me, I was coming more to grips with myself, but still I was just confused, for lack of better words. But I was okay with being by myself. I'd like to say towards the end of it all. Now I was getting a little bit lonely. Even my sister or like my mom, since I've gone back home, and when I went back home, they were like, is Matt okay up there? Like, we haven't heard from him in a while. Is he lonely? Like, so I had people worried about me, man, being out there all by myself in the middle of nowhere, not really talking to many people physically. Now, I was building my online business. I'm able to do that remotely. If you want more information as to what I do, shoot me a message on Instagram. I'll send you over some info, but that's beside the point. I was building my online business, so I was talking to people on the phone practically every day, Zoom calls, so it didn't feel that weird. And it was also like going out of COVID too. So people were still kind of weirded out with the whole going out in public and whatnot. But I was living there, and I was locked in, man. I was locked in. I started to really get into a rhythm and started to understand myself a lot better. Now, actually, now that I think about it, it's not that I didn't understand myself. It's the fact that I've just never been in a actual committed relationship prior to meeting this girl, which is why things kind of imploded the way that they did. Like, when it's your first time for everything, first time starting a business, first time in a relationship, first time doing a brand new sport, we all can understand what I'm talking about here with, like, yeah, you're going to get hurt pretty bad. It's inevitable. So, like, it's not that I didn't understand myself and I wasn't, it's not that I wasn't okay with being by myself. It's just the fact that I was doing something brand new. So I met this girl through Instagram. I was looking on location one day, this state park that was nearby, because I was planning on going for maybe a walk. There was like this stairway as well that I could climb and get like a little workout in. And I came across her page. That was a cute girl. Threw her a follow, liked a couple of her pictures, didn't really think much of it. And then a couple weeks later, I was working out at the YMCA, which was in town. It was like 10 minutes. She swiped up, hey, is that gym? Yeah, and we kind of just hit it off from there, and man. It was like for a solid month or so, kind of just texting back and forth, Snapchat and that type of shit. Eventually went on our first coffee date, get to know each other a little bit more, and a couple more dates, and a couple months went by. We started dating, and about 6 months in, like, I told her I loved her, and I mean, I didn't know what it meant at the time, man, because it was my first relationship. And we had very mutual feelings. We're just young kids. She was actually a couple of years younger than me, but we were out there in a small town in the middle of nowhere. So we didn't really have anything else going on, is what I'm saying. Like, we would see each other at least once a week and spend some time with each other, and there was a lot of first times for everything type of deal. Just with like going out on certain dates, doing certain things. So I was experiencing all of this new stuff, and it gets, a lot of you probably have went through your first heartbreak, first relationship when you were in middle school or high school. For me, I didn't start talking to females and really start committing like that until I was in my early 20s. A lot of it had to do with just because of my size. I was like 5'7", 120 pounds my senior year in high school. And also I let's just put it this, for lack of better words, I was insecure. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to close off on that door. I know y'all are probably thinking some other, oh, he's opening this door now. No. I'm straight. Even though I did wrestling and gymnastics, which are literally the two most, you know what, sports, I always like knew what I wanted. Let's just put it that way. I was never checking that other door. But I was just closing it off for a point in time. And it's not that I completely closed it off. I was still trying to hit him up and whatnot, but I wasn't there. I wasn't mentally or emotionally and physically there to the point where I felt the need to go out and start trying to spit some game and whatnot. So I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on my life for the next couple of years. And then I went through that growth spurt, man. I was mutating like a freaking monster overnight. Popped up to 6 foot, and I was really skinny, like 140 pounds. So over those years, my late teens, early 20s, I was starting to put on some weight and really starting to get diced up. And I told myself this, which is why God perhaps made things go the way that they went. But I told myself, I'm not going to start dating girls until my acne is cleared up and until my braces are taken off. Now, I had my braces taken off before I started talking to this chick, but I still had some face acne, man. So maybe that's why he put the cards he played the cards the way that they were supposed to be played. Now, met her, talking, dating. I love you, yeah. And we're kind of going back and forth, intimate, lovey-dovey. You know how it is those first couple months, but we were talking, and remember how I said I was going back and forth. I wasn't there full time. So I was also living in California at that time too. I was going back and forth, and we were talking, and it was a good amount of time away from each other, where when we would come back, we would see each other. It'd be like, you know, like puppies. So it was nice for a while, but then it just got to a point where I myself, obviously she had her own flaws, like everyone has their own flaws, but it was mainly me and just the way that I conducted myself. Like I was constantly bringing up things that I didn't like about myself. And I would do it over and over and over again. Or maybe things that I wanted to do with her that I couldn't do because I didn't have the resources at the time. And I would just keep bringing that up. And in the beginning, she was like, it's all good. Like, I like you for you type of deal. Like, doesn't matter if you have the face acne or whatever, you look the way that you look, or you only have that much money, because that's not why I'm talking to you. At least that's from my understanding as to how she kind of explained it. But I just could not. I was infatuated with myself, and I still am. I still love myself and whatnot, but I was so infatuated with myself where, like, I would just constantly, I would actually bring up my flaws so then she wouldn't have to bring up my flaws. I would do that as like a defense mechanism. Even though she was aware of it and she was fine with it, I would bring it up so that it would, like, I can't articulate it the right way, but it kind of bled into it's been a struggle of mine for many, many years, and I've been working on it, and I've been getting really good at it, at overcoming it. But still, I'm not perfect, and I would just always bring up the things that I didn't like about myself, and that kind of put some stress on the relationship. So it's getting a little hot in here. Put a little bit of stress on the relationship. And she was also going through some stuff with school and whatnot, and just times were really difficult, stressful for her. And I was kind of overlooking that stuff, and I was just reverting it back to my problems, my stuff, what I'm going through. And it eventually got to the point, the pinnacle, where this was going into like spring. We went on this walk at that state park that I came across her page on. How I came across her page was through that state park. We went for a walk there, and once again, I was still just like kind of jumping. Like she was trying to open up, And I really think she wanted to continue to be with me, but I was just so overly focused on myself where it was like, dude, I can't even talk to you. So yeah, we're gonna have to take a break. And so like I try to hold my cool. We were in the car. It's laughable now, because it's a part of my story. Like I'm not emotional about it anymore, and I'm doing this so that I can maybe help someone like yourself that is going through it right now, and kind of help you take a couple steps back and realize, like, years from now, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's going to be a story. It's going to be a lesson that you learned, and it's going to help you move on, and allow yourself to accept the better things that are going to come to your life, the more quality people that you're going to meet. And I'm not saying they're not the person that I was talking to isn't quality, but I'm just saying, like, you just have to let go and let God, man. Have faith that all the cards will unfold the right way. So I'm kind of sharing my story right now just to kind of put some emphasis on that, to help you overcome what it is that you might be overcoming. But yeah, talking to her at that state park that I met, that I came across her page, the state park from when I came across her page, we were in the car. She was like, yeah, we got to take a break. And I could tell it was like kind of choppy for her to say it. And I didn't realize she was going to say, like, we were talking on the same page, and then she said that. I'm like, oh shoot. Like, it just kind of hit me like bricks. It hit me like bricks. And then I'm just like, that's how you feel? All right. And I was like, we were in my car, like, you can leave now. Wasn't a good look. I shouldn't have ended it like that. But obviously the story wasn't over. So she ended up hopping back in her car, going back home. And then she ended up telling me down the road that, you know, on that drive back, like, she was bawling her eyes out, because obviously she wanted me to, like, be there for her when she was going through that kind of stuff. So I ended up going back home to my grandparents, and they were actually back home at that time. And I just kind of played it off like nothing happened. And I'm really close with my grandparents. They're kind of like parents to me. My grandma and my grandpa, they've just really helped me out a lot through my entire childhood and whatnot. They're very wise people, so I speak very highly of them, and they just knew something was up when that happened. And then over the span of the couple days of me just, you know, bouncing it out of the house, and just the way that I was acting, and yeah, after those couple days, it hit me. I played it off cool for the first couple days, like most guys try to do. I'm macho, man. I think I'm all tough and whatnot after this breakup. After she broke up with me, I'm good. Turning my shoulder, turning the side eye, acting like I'm all good and whatnot. No, I was not good. I was hurting really bad, man. And it eventually it's because I kept rewinding that part over and over and over again, the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm like, damn, this is real. Like, I might never see this girl again. So that's when I'm repeating that and thinking about that moment. It really it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'm like, damn, man. Like, it was really tough. It was really tough for those first couple weeks. Like, I'll be honest with you, man. There were times where I was literally bawling my eyes out. Literally, I was bawling my eyes out, crying over her because she broke my heart. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad I got to experience those emotions, though, because I never experienced those emotions before, looking back, because now I know what it's like going through your first heartbreak, and I can shoot a video like this and give you some insight on how I was able to overcome it, which I'm going to get into that. But yeah, the entire end of spring, this was like May when she broke up, throughout the entire summer, going into it, that first like couple months, it was the hardest time of my entire life. Like I said, nothing equated to that. And a lot of it was self-inflicted because I just kept repeating it over and over and over again, and I was trying to like win her back. I'm sure we've all done that as well, saying certain messages, doing certain deeds that try to get her attention. She wasn't going. And then it kind of died off a little bit, like the messages and me just trying to, I was kind of going crazy, let's just put it that way. And I was not putting any focus on my business, on my work, so that was going backwards. Business and a relationship is like growing a flower or just any type of plant. You have to maintain it, you have to constantly water it and nurture it so that it can grow into what it is. It can blossom into the beautiful flower that it can turn into, has the potential to turn into. So my business was going backwards, man, because I wasn't watering, I wasn't giving it the necessary resources that it needed, the necessary attention and energy. And that eventually went to complete zero, and I was making no money. So I ended up packing my bags at my grandparents' place, had no money. That's when I was in debt as well. I was probably 10 grand in debt at that time, 15 grand in debt at that time. I ended up moving back in with my parents. I moved back in with my parents, and this is kind of the start of rebuilding the entire journey. And I'm so grateful for those times, man. Oh my God, I'm so grateful for them. Moved back in with my parents. They gave me the opportunity to sleep at their place, which I'm really grateful for that, because they didn't have to do that. I was 23 or something like that at the time, and I was the golden child. Like I was the child that was supposed to make it out and achieve all of this success, which I did have a lot of fun, and I showcased a lot of that success by traveling and not being at their place for 5 years, from moving out at 18 after graduated high school all the way to 23. But still, it was kind of a letdown. Like, man, you're back in with your parents, you know, the neighbors see it and shit. And obviously I was very respectful about it all, and I was very grateful. My people in my family were going through certain stuff, which it made things even more difficult to just witness. It was a really hard time for a lot of people in my family, not just myself. So we were all under that roof, just negative energy was just sputtering around, and it didn't help going, you know, to that breakup. But eventually it got to the point, I went back up to my grandparents' place July 4th, 4th of July weekend. And I spent time up there by myself. My grandparents, they were on a trip to like Alaska or something like that in their fifth wheel. So I went up there and I had a fire, just spent a couple days up there, steaks on the grill. Yeah, I had a couple bucks at the time because I was doing another business that was paying out a decent amount of money where I could afford the gas or like the groceries and whatnot, you know, the basic necessities. And obviously my grandparents were cool. Yeah, you could stay up there for the weekend, have fun. So I ended up, I was listening to like Jack Johnson and what's it called? Just these lovey-dovey songs, not R&B songs, but what's it called? Sparks? Who is that band? Who is that band that sings Sparks? Or Yellow? Coldplay. Gosh darn it! Why was I not? I was listening to that kind of music, and it was just putting me back into that state of mind again. You know what? I'm gonna go, because I knew where she worked. She worked at the hospital in town over the summer while she's not in college. You know what? I'm gonna go buy a vase, a bouquet of flowers, and I'm gonna drop them off to where she works. I had this big bouquet, spent like $60, which was a lot of money with where I was at. And I went to her work, and I dropped off the flowers with a little bit of handwritten note on there. She wasn't there, which I was actually kind of happy that she wasn't there, because it probably would have been just more embarrassing for me. But luckily the lady at the front, I was like, can you drop off these flowers to so-and-so when she comes in? Yeah, she doesn't come until tomorrow. Okay, great, thank you. Can you make it just a surprise? Like, yeah, okay, thank you. And she kind of already knew like the feelings that I had and whatnot. I didn't tell her I was going, chick broke up with me, but it was a beautiful bouquet of flowers. So she was like, yeah, I'll definitely do that for you. Now, I went back. I drove back to Milwaukee, my parents' place, and she never sent me a message like, hey, thanks for the flowers or nothing like that. And from that moment on, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. I tried to make it work and fix things, but it just wasn't meant to be. And I still had prayed to God, like, if she reaches out, give me one more chance type of deal. That's what I was doing all those months. But I just started to dial back in on my business, the personal development. I was plugging into the necessary resources that I needed to help me get out of the negative state of mind. I started to work out 2 times a day. I started to get that back in order. I started to take a lot of walks too. Downtown Milwaukee, there's a place called the Third Ward. It's one of the higher end locations downtown. If you ever go there, if you ever go to Milwaukee, I highly suggest you just visit the Third Ward, because that's the nice area. But I would take a walk there every day, like a little loop, shirt off, get a little tan, get some attention, because obviously I was in good shape. And I was also trying to do other income opportunities too. Like, I was looking into doing like wholesale real estate, maybe going into life insurance. And I was just, while I was making a couple bucks from this other thing that I had going on, but I was completely checked out of my network marketing business. I'm like, yeah, this is not going to work for me. And I was just trying to do other things and get my life back in order. Barely making enough money to get food, because I was so stubborn in the sense of, I'm not going to get a job and work for another man. That's how stubborn I was. And my parents were worried about me. They really were. And I'm grateful that I have parents that give a damn. But I'm like, I'm all right. So this is going in end of July, August. She, and here's the thing. I blocked her in July on some petty shit. Just because I'm like, I was looking at her stories every single time she posted. I was just, you got to stop doing that. If you're going through it right now, just whatever you got to do not watch her content, man. I'm telling you, it's just going to make things that much worse. Try to find people, maybe activities to do, to just get your mind off of it. Obviously, you should spend the necessary time to look into the relationship, what you did wrong, and what you can improve on going into the next relationship. Do that. But from after that, stop. Just please stop. Because you're just going to make things so much more worse. And it's going to get so bad to the point where you literally want to contemplate your life. That's how much it hurts. And especially when things aren't going your way, like you had to move back in with your parents, you're in debt, and you're barely making any money. Like, that doesn't make things any better. So whatever you gotta do, just find and try to find positive outlets. And luckily for me, it was music and it was taking walks. That was one of my positive outlets. It really helped me out a lot. Just try to not talk about your problem and keep bringing it back to surface, bringing it back to light to your friends and your family. Talk about it one time, and then from there, stop talking about it. Okay? Because it's literally like a cancer. You keep talking about it, it's going to continue to spread. And that's the reality of it. So find outlets, positive outlets, to distract yourself, to positively distract yourself. I'm not talking about using drugs or alcohol. Luckily, I've never gotten into anything like that, mainly because of my upbringing, which I might share down the road in another video. But she ended up reaching back out to me. And this is actually, I was taking a walk. I remember the exact spot location of where I was. Reached back out. I got some chick walking past. She ended up reaching back out to me, and I'm like, I knew it. I was on the highest frequency when she sent me that message. Hey Matt, my nickname. Hey Maddie, I miss you. I felt like a king. I swear to God I did. And over those couple days leading up to it, she started watching my content again, because over that entire summer, she stopped watching my content. So I felt like a king. I was taking my walk. I had my shirt off. I was diced up. And she reaches back out to me, and I'm like, thank you, God. And gosh, what a freaking weenie. I mean, I was just in my feelings, man. Let's just put it that way. I was in my feelings. I was happy because I'm like, someone actually cares. She cares about me still, you know? I'm like, I thought it was just me, because every single day I was still thinking about her, but I was also starting to put in the work to get my life back in order. So she reaches back out, and I'm kind of responding to her back and forth. We're having a conversation, just kind of lightly catching up, and then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna head up there in a couple days from now, and I'm gonna come see you, and we're gonna talk. I'm gonna come see you. And I think she was sick or something, like, I don't remember exactly. I think she was sick, but I'm like, I don't care. I just want to see you on some like crazy lover boy shit. So drove back up there to my grandparents' place, and we ended up having a conversation. We hanged out for the whole night next day, and it felt like that's something that I want you to take away. You do not want to get too high. You don't want to overdose on the love, but you don't want to get too low. So if you're gonna get super high, guess what? That super low, it's bound to come. You want to try your absolute best to stay right in the middle, calm and collected. Obviously, you still want to express your emotions and how you feel, and the passion that you have behind those emotions, like love, but don't try to overdose it. Do not try to overdose it, because that's what I did. I was like a freaking dog, came up there, you know what I mean? And that just kind of, I think, spun it a little bit the wrong way with her and how she kind of reacted. But I ended up going back home, and we were kind of just talking back and forth, and then she was kind of just doing that same thing again. I mean, maybe it's because I was overly expressing my love and gratitude, and she was just kind of maybe getting weirded out about it, because I was like, we haven't talked the entire summer, and I'm just like, you know what I mean? So I could kind of see that, but we ended up not really having much of a conversation through the rest of August. We met up early August, and then not really talking much the rest of August. I think it's because she was just finishing up work, about to go to school, and she was going to school in Milwaukee, which she's from a small town a couple hours away, and that's a big deal, going to a school in the city. It's a really big deal. It's like culture shock, really. That's what it is. But she ended up going there, and we met up. I think it was for her birthday or something like that, September or whatever, early September. Took her out on a date, bought her this necklace, and I barely had any money, but I was really trying to not do things that I did the first time around. And me and my buddy Ron were just talking about this. Like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. So I really try to overcome a lot of those just things that I had to work on. And that was, a lot of it was me, but obviously some of it was the other partner. But I really try to work on a lot of those things and overcome a lot of that, which I think I did a really good job at. But we were talking all throughout September and October, and I had a great time, and I was cool, like, do what you want to do type of deal. But I'm just so, I guess you could say I'm a little petty. I'm very passionate about the way that I feel, one or the other type of deal. And it's not like the calm and collected in the middle when it comes to that relationship. So what relationships do, if you really care about someone and that relationship doesn't go the way that you wanted to go, it really exposes who you are and your flaws. That's what I believe, because a lot of the things that I was already doing in my business that were negatively impacting my business, they carried over into my personal relationships, like the relationship I had with her. So it just exposed it and enhanced it even more, which is why I'm really grateful for that relationship, because if I didn't go through that, I probably would still be making those same stupid mistakes that I was making before. But having it go through an intimate partner compared to like a business partner, it's just, I'm sure you get what I'm saying. Like, it's just another level, man. So yeah, we were talking throughout the end of the summer, going into fall, and it just wasn't clicking. She wanted one thing, I wanted the other, and we just kind of moved on from there. We weren't actually like even dating at that point. We were just talking still over those months, but we ended up stopped talking, and that's when I just completely flipped a switch, because that's when everything literally like went to zero, and I'm like, all right, this is it. I just accepted it with where I was at. This relationship is probably never going to work out again. This relationship is probably never going to work out again. And also, this relationship's never going to work out again. And also, I just got to get my life in order. And that's when I started to really churn up with going to the gym 2 times a day. I started to integrate the calisthenics in my second workout, the pull-ups. I mean, since then, I've probably done close to 150,000 pull-ups, which has really impacted the way that I look for the better. But I just churned up, man. I started to reconnect with certain people, and don't get me wrong, I was still thinking about her every single day, even though we stopped talking. But I was man enough to be like, all right, this is just not working. It's not working. We both want different things. So moved on, and that's when I reconnected with Ron. We reconnected at Chipotle, actually. He was with some chick, and I was just eating my food. I was looking already pretty diced from when he last seen me years ago. He was like, yo, you're AJ's buddy, right? Yeah. And we just kind of chopped it up. Oh, let's get to work on a lifetime. And we just started hitting it off, man. And he was going through kind of a similar thing in his life. Obviously, it wasn't the same, but it's all relative. And we just kind of locked arms together and like, let's just go at this together, man. Let's lock in together. And it talks about it in the Bible, how when 2 people meet, it's like, man, you have, think about it. You have double the ideas. You have 2 brains instead of just you, in the way that you perceive things, the way that you make decisions. Now you can get more perspective, a different imagination, a different intuition, a different reason. So there's power in numbers, man. And just being around him and someone like himself, who's actually 15 years older than me, he's a lot more wise and just gone through more life and more relationships. So it really helped me overcome that. But still, I was thinking about the relationship every single day. But we were dialed in. I was creating content. I was getting my life back in order. I was working at Amazon Flex, which I was so grateful for that, because I had money now that I could spend on opportunities to get around people who had results that I wanted, so I could get more perspective on my situation. And I met some really cool people, some people that I'm very close with now, and I would not be where I'm at if it weren't for those people, which I'm really excited to go back to Milwaukee to see them. Because they're one of ones. I mean, I really don't know how to explain it. They're one of ones. They have their own personality, their own swag, their own comedy, everything, by the way that they look, the tattoos that they're all one of ones, which is why I just gravitated towards them and really just try to pull out everything that they could teach me. And I've built a pretty dope crew. When I stopped talking to her, just getting around those guys and getting all this new information, dialing in at the gym, creating content. My social media went up just because of the fitness content that I was creating. A lot of people were gravitating towards that, and mentality that I had. I was a freaking shark, man. Like, I was just ready to murk some shit for real. That's the type of mentality that I was in. Like the David Goggins, I was willing to just, no, you're not willing to take this as far as I'm willing to take it type of mentality. I was listening to dark rap music every single day, like I gotta make it out type of deal. I was sleeping on my parents' couch, and there were nights still, like I said before, where I would think about her, and And I would very rarely now at that point in my life would I go and look at her Instagram page and see what she's up to. I would very rarely do that. But still, there were times where I caught myself lacking, like, man, you know. But it was more of just like a, you know, I'm happy for her. I'm happy she's doing good type of deal. And just over that, the months went by, months and months, and then come spring, I ended up reaching back out to her. And obviously my boys in my corner were like, bro, don't do that. But I caved in. I'm like, maybe I'm good enough now where she just won't even want to look left or right and just lock in with me type of deal. But that's not the person that she was. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I was trying to create something that I was building a false narrative in my head of who she was. And you can't do that, man. Just look at people for who they are. And what really helped me overcome this entire relationship and just put things into perspective was, one, getting around the right group of people who had more experience, who had more results than me. Two, going into the gym and literally giving it your absolute all, and then looking at your situation that you're going through for what it is. You can just look at the truth. You're not, your emotions are out of the equation because you've literally beaten your body up to the point where you can barely even breathe. Now bring those ideas that you had and bring those emotions or certain things that you're going on in your, that you got going on in your life up to your thought, and bring that up and start thinking about it. Now you can look at it for what it is and start putting right things into place to help you overcome that. That's what really helped me, man. But I'm not perfect. I ended up caving back in one day. I'm like, reached back out to her, seeing how she's doing, and she was like, actually she left me on scene for a couple months. I reached out to her. She left me on scene for a couple months. Now going into summer, this is, you know, about like 9 months later since we seen each other, and she messaged me. She was like, hey, I'm actually talking to somebody, but she was like, hope all is well or something like that, months later. And I'm just like, whatever. What I said though, because I didn't burn a bridge, and that goes into just whatever you do in life, never burn a bridge, man, because that person that you burn the bridge with, let's say your business partner, like they may go and turn on you and do certain things, or you guys could relink years from now and build even a bigger, like, you know, you guys could build a massive. So just never burn a bridge. Never say things that you're gonna regret. So I was just like, you know what, I messaged her and I'm like, I'm happy for you. I forgot exactly, but I'm like, I'm happy for you. I wish you the best. And you know what? I wouldn't have said that. I probably would have said some petty shit, but I was around my buddy who, sorry about that, guys. I was around my buddy who had more life experience than me. So he was like, bro, don't say that. Don't say something that you're going to regret. I just ended up telling her, you know, what he told me to say, basically. Oh, wow. Some kids are just running around. But yeah, guys, I now going into the summer and I'm still locked in 2 times a day, working out. I'm working at Amazon Flex. My buddy Joey, my business partner in network marketing, who's like a big brother to me, who I'm living with down here in Arizona. I'm very close with him and his family. I still was talking to him over that year of, you know, me being out of the network marketing industry. He hits me up and he's like, hey, bro, you know, I need some extra hands up in Minnesota for the summer. In northern Minnesota, he's building a lake home up there, 4,000 square foot lake home. It's freaking beautiful, man. He hits me up. I'm at a Starbucks coffee shop one day in Greenfield, Wisconsin. It's right across the street from Southridge Mall. I know exactly where I was because he called me up and he like, hey, bro, you want to come up here for the summer? You know, I'll pay for the work that you do. And obviously he knew I wasn't like a carpenter or anything like that, an expert with my hands, but my dad's been a carpenter his entire life and he took me on side jobs growing up and whatnot. So I knew at least a little bit, but I ended up going up there, and that really helped out a lot, man. It really helped me out so much. It gave me so much clarity. And here's the thing, leading up to that, so he called me in May asking if I wanted to come up to his lake home for the summer. Calls me up and I'm like, of course. I would have done it for free, because since I was a kid, I've always wanted to go and experience that lake life. I want to be able to raise my family on a lake in this, I want to be able to raise my family on a lake. So I just wanted to experience that firsthand. And I ended up getting fired from my Amazon Flex thing. I had a perfect record, but one day I must have been late or something stupid, and I ended up getting fired from that. So I had like a month from then to going to Joey's place in northern Minnesota, and I was fiending because I was spending practically every single dollar back into to get around people who had results that I wanted, paying for programs, coaching, whatnot. And I don't regret any of it. I was paying a lot of money also that I was making was going to food, because I was working out 2 times a day. I was pushing over 4,000 calories. So I was eating a lot of damn food, man. But I got the call, and luckily I kind of scraped by over that month. And I ended up driving up to Minnesota, and I'm not thinking about her anymore. I'm honestly, I'm not. Like, I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity to go up there in northern Minnesota for the entire summer. And that was, I'll make a whole video on that, and I'll also make a whole video on my experience in my grandparents' place in northern Wisconsin, being up there in the sticks, in the woods where nobody else is around, because I really think that has shaped me into the man that I am today. And so same with the being on that lake for the summer. But she ended up blocking me over the summer, and I wasn't, because one day or something like that I was thinking about her, and I was pretty much over it completely. Like, I'm like, you know what, it ain't it, bro. There's more fish out there. There's other women out there. So I'm like, it's all good. It's all good. It's all a part of my story. You live and you learn type of deal. But she blocked me, and I kind of thought I was like, oh, I kind of felt like I had the upper hand on that, because, I still have feelings for her. Like, I still wanted to be with her. But I told her this when I first started talking to her. I'm like, if we ever stop talking and you go into another relationship and having, with another man, this will never work. A relationship between me and you will never work out again. I actually got that from Tristan Tate. And I still carry that with me to this day. I think it's a really good boundary to set. Like, if you guys stop talking and she moves on for a period of time, that just means it wasn't meant to be. Same with you, I would say too. Like, I'd argue same for men too. Just wasn't meant to be. So she blocked me. I kind of thought that was silly. Then she unblocked me, was watching my entire content throughout the summer. And I was churning up. I mean, just the type of content that I was creating, I made it so compelling where it's like, I wish I was there. I know that for a fact, because I had people literally message me that. I had the best summer of my life up there in northern Minnesota, helping my buddy build his lake home, being on that lake, fishing every day off of the paddle board, swimming on the lake, jet skiing, the nights just looking up at the stars, because you're in northern Minnesota. You could see just the freaking Milky Way, all of it, man. It was so beautiful. The food, being with Joey's wife's parents too. We were with them. They're big Christians, and they could literally recite the Bible verbatim. So we had great talks about Christianity and just the stories inside of the Bible. And I was just getting this whole different perspective, the spiritual connection that I've never really had before. And towards the end of the summer, Joey ends up making a pivot. He walks away from the business that I was with, the company that I was with him in for 6 years. But remember, I took that year off, so I wasn't doing anything while I was up there. I was just helping him create content, build his home, and I was kind of doing my own things, creating social media, whatnot. But he was still building that company, and he ended up pivoting from that company to a new company, relocked arms with his old business partner, and just me being in proximity, being at the right place at the right time, I knew I could capitalize on it financially, regardless of what we were selling. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give this thing one more shot, and I'm grateful that I did, because fast forward 7 months later, where I'm at right now, I've earned over 100 grand, and I wouldn't have been able to do the things that I've been able to do. So I'm really grateful for that, just being in proximity and being around him, because, you know, everything happens for a reason. Like, God put me in position to, God built me, he helped me build a relationship with Joey so I could then, you know, I've had the in on him with and his family for many years. So building that relationship, him calling me up, he doesn't just let anyone go up there, and being around his family, he's a very strong, independent man, not strong just physically, but also mentally. Like, he's not going to just let anyone up there roam around his family and his kids. So I really took that to heart, and I you know, was very grateful for that. But launched with him, created a bunch of, you know, we've had a bunch of success. But before I made any money, you know, I moved on from that relation. Obviously, like I said before, I still had feelings, but I was like, you know what I want to do with my money now is I want to be able to create the dopest experiences with the most beautiful women. And if I find someone along that way, then you know what, we'll lock in. Like, I'm a one horse cowboy, man. That's what I say. Like, obviously I have buddies that they like to have their fun with other women, but for me, at the end of the day, that's just who I am. I'm a one horse cowboy. I like to be with one person at a time. And, you know, I started making some money. She was watching my content. She ended up, no. She was just liking a lot of my stuff, watching a lot of my stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just churn up. So I messaged her out of ill intent. Like, it was not out of the right kind of emotion. Like that, I do regret that. I messaged her telling her how I felt, as in like what I wanted. I want to have fun, man. I want to be able to take, I probably shouldn't, I think I have a couple of my buddies who are kind of players help me out with it, but, you know, it's kind of smooth talking a little bit, just being like, you know what, let's go and churn up. Let's just have some fun type of deal. And she wasn't really going for that. Because she went through that breakup over the summer. The guy actually ended up cheating on her, because we ended up linking back up. I had a dope spot in Milwaukee for a few months before I came down here to Arizona. So she came over and we were just talking, and she mentioned how, like, he cheated on her and whatnot, and just how she felt about me. But remember, I said, if you ever move on and you start talking to another dude, that's my sign that this will never work out. So I took advantage of that. I took advantage of her, sorry. And I do regret that. And I've apologized. I've expressed how I felt. Like, obviously I don't have any feelings towards her anymore, as in like wanting to be with her. But I mean, man, a girl that even if you don't know what love is, it's your first relationship, you shouldn't hurt a female. Like, females are one of the most beautiful things that God gave man. The most beautiful thing that God gave man. So regardless of what they did to you, you still got to be a man and be strong enough. And, you know, I had to learn that the hard way, and I do regret that, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life, because it definitely hurt her. Because when I came, you know, we were talking for about a month in November, and then I came down here to Arizona and started churning up, and I met this really cool girl, and we started to click pretty well, and I started to post her on my social media. And obviously the other girl I was talking to was still watching my stuff, and just got to a point where she messaged me, and she really was she was sad, man. She was really sad, and she was angry too, rightfully so. Because like I said before, when I met up with her, I should have just said, like, hey, you know, you're an amazing girl. I want to see you do great things, but this will never, like, we'll never have this kind of connection ever again. But I just kind of let her on, and we did churn up for about a month. Like, I was showing her some dope spots around Milwaukee that she's never been to before and whatnot. We had a great time. But yeah, I do regret that. I do feel bad about that. Obviously, like I said before, I don't have any sort of feelings or attachment to her anymore. But I you know, you don't want to hurt a girl like that, man. Regardless if she hurts you or not. Like I said before, you just got to be the stronger man. You got to be the stronger person. So I'm gonna have to deal with that for the rest of my life. But I'd like to say I've come to grips with it, and it'll never happen again. You know, I'd like to say that, but it did help me knowing that she wanted to be with me while I started to turn up. I'm like, yeah, she ain't. I know I can do better. And then I came down here and I met this girl, and now, yeah, you know, it's obviously been off my radar. I just wanted to make this video to kind of share with you guys as to how I was able to overcome things and how I'm not perfect. Like, I still had, you know, we reconnected a couple times and try to make it work. It didn't work, but that's just, love is, you can never really you can't explain it. It's just, it's a feeling that you get. And as hard as you, as much as you try to like put logic into it, it just, it's gonna go the way that it needs to go, good or bad. And at the end of the day, it's not bad because you learned a lesson from it. You know, we both came out of that learning a lesson. Like, the first time we were dating broke my heart, went through that summer, the hardest summer, like most difficult summer of my entire life emotionally. And then locking in that whole year, changing my entire physique, my network, getting my life back in order, just dialing in, and then reaching back out to her being in a relationship. It's all good. Went up to Minnesota, spent the summer up there, and then reconnected with her for about a month and had a good time, but it wasn't gonna like last. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of my story, man. I'd like to say though that it'll never be as bad as it was before, like that first time when you go through that heartbreak. So if you can just find positive outing, if you can find positive outs to deal with your pain, and then just let time catch up and just stack those days. Like, that's really what I did. I just was stacking days, man. And I was getting around people who had the ability to turn me up, as in like give me the positive energy that I needed. I was getting in the gym. I was getting my life back in order financially. Just everything. It'll turn around for you. Maybe not right now. I know that's not what you want to hear, but it'll turn around for the better if you just keep stacking those days. Keep stacking those positive days. Don't look too far ahead. Just take it day by day, man. Day by day. Just take it day by day. And reward yourself too. Reward yourself when you're doing good and you're locked in and you're doing the right things and you're not focusing on that heartbreak. Reward yourself, as in maybe going and watching a movie or whatever. Maybe you like to drink and you like to go out. Do that maybe just once in a blue moon, or go to a nice restaurant. You know, take one of your buddies and go to a nice restaurant. But I wouldn't move on right away. I would not move on. If I were you, I would not move on. Don't move on until you're completely over it, and until you understand yourself and why you're doing the things that you're doing. Like, when I reconnected with her before I came here, I knew, like, when I linked up with her, I knew, like, okay, this is never gonna work out again. Like I said before, that's not cool. Obviously, like, we talk about being a player and whatnot, but that's not cool, man. That's not cool. I should have just been the stronger person, be like, you know what, dope girl, but this isn't gonna work out, you know? So yeah, this is my first video that's pushing an hour. But obviously I'm really passionate about this, guys, and I really hope it does help some of you that are just maybe recently going through a breakup, or maybe you've never been able to, you went through a breakup a long time ago and those motions are still lingering. Just get around positive people, get in the gym, and then push yourself as hard as you possibly can in that gym. And when you get out of the gym, now bring those things that you're going through to light and start solving them with logic, not with emotion, with logic. Put the right solutions in place, and that'll help you out a lot. And maybe you know, just one gym session a day isn't cutting it. Okay, go and work out twice a day. That's what I was doing. I was damn near working out 3 times a day because I was walking my parents' dog too. So, but it was able to, it was a way for me to just blow off steam and look at the situation for what it was. So guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.